There would be some who would have thought that Paulo Gorde would be a shrinking violet in the shadow of his very famous mother, who was a controversial singer and performer, a celebrated model and a Bond girl in the 1980s. As it turns out, Paulo has managed to take a huge step away from the shadow of his mother's fame and has carved out a substantial career as a model and, more lately, the head of a rap collective that has wowed audiences with their live shows. So who is Paulo's mum? It is none other than pop icon Grace Jones, who was a muse for artist Andy Warhol and shares her son with French graphic designer and illustrator Jean-Paul Goude. Grace and Jean-Paul met in the late 70s at Studio 54 and he is responsible for directing one of Grace's influential pop videos, which helped to define her image in the 80s while she appeared in a number of his works during this time. They welcomed Paulo in 1979 but the pair's relationship came to an end a few years later. Growing up in Paris and New York, Paulo inherited his mother's model looks and for a few years appeared to be at the top of his game with numerous runway shows before it came to an end in the early 2000s. He then launched a music career with a musical trio called Tribes, which he describes as an international hip-hop, soul group and a Latino group incorporating 3 artists, each with distinctive cultures and talents. Paulo had a daughter with bandmate Azella Amigues, which they named Athena, and now he has returned to the modeling scene nearly 2 decades after leaving it behind. Paulo's mum, Grace, emerged as a model in her late teens in New York City in 1968 and worked with the likes of Yves Saint Laurent in Paris. Speaking to People magazine in 1979, Jean-Paul said about Grace, "Men think she's sexy. Women think she's a little masculine, so they're not jealous. Gays think she's a drag queen. She's the manifestation of all my fantasies. She's the face of the 80s." This was cemented with her appearance opposite Roger Moore in the James Bond movie, A View to a Kill, in 1985, which is also the year that her Trevor Horn-produced album, Slave to the Rhythm, went on to dominate the pop charts as Grace made the era her own. She is still headlining festivals now and still brings a controversial stage show and offstage persona which remains enigmatic and placing her among some of the most influential artists of the past 40 years. Follow Mirror Celebs on Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube and Threads.
To